I've sat on this video for a little while because yesterday I got accused of being anti Semitic because I shared the Macklemore song. Oh my gosh. Me, a person who before 2012, or honestly before 2008, rarely had to think about black and white issues because of the way I was raised. Um, but have since had the mind altering experience of realizing that in this country will never be good enough because we visibly look different. A person who in sixth grade had to read the diary of Anne Frank and have ever since realized that people could be that inhuman. Who has had to watch a man get kneed in his back for 8 to 9 minutes. Thankfully, I was protecting my peace at that time, so did not watch the video. But also had to hear about Sandra Bland being being found hanging in her jail cell, Tamir Rice being killed seconds upon a police officer getting there. Hearing this porky, half Hispanic daddy judge get off of murdering a 17-year-old child because he said the child used the sidewalk as a weapon, but he killed that child with a gun after following him in a van. I'm the person who watched Unsolved Mysteries, where they told stories about a white man who followed young boys in a van and then put the boys in the back of his van and strangled them as he essayed them. I saw that story when I was 12, and it has haunted me. The things a human being will do to another person just because they look different or just because there's some perverseness attached to it bothers me to my core. And I never understood why America supported Israel in the things that it does. I still don't. And to say that it's one person who supports Israel is really strange, considering that every government, because of Israeli lobbyists, has supported Israel, right? And so it bothered me when people were like, oh, KH is in support of this. She's in support of Jeet's side. No. Any rational human being is not in support of G side. And this is just really hard to put together because there's so many pieces to it, right? Because what we're dealing with, from what I understand, and I could be wrong, but I've read on one side, I've read on another side, and I've read neutral sides. But it comes down to this. Two extremist groups are at war when the faith people have been trying to live in peace for a while. The Jewish faith people and the Muslim faith people have been trying to live in peace for the longest, but two extreme groups have decided that there will be no peace. And one of those extremist groups is the prime minister, is what the prime minister belongs to. So I've read about October 7th from many different angles. And yes, that was horrible, horrific, an atrocity of an attack. It was. One thing that I questioned, though, was what led to that? Because growing up, I've always seen these groups going against each other. So what led to that was my question. And in doing my research, what led to that was the extreme group who is in charge. What I understand is this. This is not a faith war. This isn't Jewish faith versus Muslim faith. This isn't a faith war. Just like the problems we're having in America, where we have people calling themselves Christians, but they're not, you have people calling themselves Jewish, and they're not. There are like 4 groups of Jewish, right? But the secular Jews, they don't actually practice. They don't really even go to a synagogue. Like, they don't really have a religion. Well, the leader, he doesn't really have a religion. He just has a title. And so it seems like there's some similarities here that we're watching people who call themselves Christian who are actually extremists, and y'all have people who are calling themselves Jewish who are actually extremists. And what I read that led up to that is that the leader of the extremist group had been threatening to eradicate the Palestinian people off the map of the Middle East. I could be wrong. And unlike many people who are wrong, I know how to change my mind when presented with solid evidence and information. But what I will tell you is, it's not actually religions at war. It is religion being used by people who are not. And your leader is not religious. Your leader is not even really Jewish. And Israel, the state, is not synonymous with Jewish culture. There are Jewish people who do not live in Israel. They live all over the place. So I don't know how it is considered anti-Semitic to say that Israel, the state, is doing some atrocious things. I don't understand how that's anti-Semitic. Because here I'm talking governments. And to equate both is wrong, because they are not the same thing. I've studied multiple religions. I have friends who are Jewish. I have friends and students who were from Palestine, from Pakistan, from different places. So I don't hate a religion. And you won't put that label on me. But what you need to do is look at things objectively and see what that guy's part is in this. Yes, there are the extremists on the other side. And it seems like they thought they had to respond to the continuing threats. These are some of the threats that I found and verified in more than one place, right? So, like some of the threats that are happening here, people felt they needed to respond. I'm not giving them an excuse. Don't take that. And as a response to what they did, there was a response from the government of Israel. But that response is even more extreme and has cost many lives too. And there's no end to it. And again, it's not religious, because America is involved in this, even had real estate sales of people's land. America has a culture of stealing land from brown people. So again, it's not religious, it's racist. And that's what's happening. And now, your non-Jewish leader of Israel is giving land to Donald Trump? I'm confused.